Please don't ask me to sell it. I can't part with it, not again. It's all I have left of him.
I'll give you double the price, the man said. But the old woman shook her head. Her hands tightened around the ring. I'm not selling it, she whispered. The man frowned, because that made no sense. She clearly needed the money. Her clothes were worn, her shoes had holes. She'd walked into his pawn shop like someone at the end of their rope, so why wouldn't she let it go? Helen Morrison stood at the counter of Davis & Sons pawn shop, 74 years old, hands shaking, holding a simple gold ring. She'd come in 20 minutes ago, desperate, asked how much the ring was worth. Christopher Davis, the owner, had examined it. Simple band, gold, maybe 14 karat, a few small diamonds, not particularly valuable, maybe $400. He'd offered $300, standard pawn shop rate. Helen had stared at the money for a long time, like she was starving and someone had put food in front of her. But then she'd pulled the ring back. I can't, she said. Christopher was confused. Ma'am, you asked for a price. I gave you one. If it's not enough, it's not that. Then what? Helen looked at the ring, tears in her eyes. I shouldn't have come here. She started to leave. Christopher stopped her. Wait, ma'am, if you need money, I can go higher. $350, $400, whatever the ring is worth. Helen turned back. It's not about the money. Then why are you here? Helen's voice broke. Because I don't know what else to do. And that's when Christopher realized this wasn't a transaction, it was desperation. Why don't you sit down, he said gently. Tell me what's going on. Helen hesitated, then sat. Christopher poured her water, waited. After a moment, Helen spoke. My husband died 5 years ago, Robert. We were married 46 years. I'm sorry. He left me the house. It's paid off, but the property taxes, Helen's voice shook. They've gone up every year. I'm on Social Security, $1,100 a month. That's it. Christopher nodded. I've been managing, barely, but last month I got a notice. I owe $6,000 in back taxes. If I don't pay by next week, they'll take the house. You don't have family who can help? Helen shook her head. No children. My sister died 2 years ago. I'm alone. She looked at the ring. This is all I have left, Robert's ring, but I can't sell it. Why not? Helen was quiet for a long time. Then, because it's not just a ring, it's a promise. Christopher leaned forward, curious now. What kind of promise? Helen turned the ring over, showed him the inside of the band. There was an engraving, small, worn, but still visible. Christopher squinted, read it. W.D. to R.M., 1989, a life for a life. Christopher's breath caught. What does this mean? Helen took the ring back, held it like it was sacred. In 1989, my husband saved a man's life, a complete stranger. The man was so grateful, he gave Robert this ring, said it was a promise that if Robert or I ever needed anything, we just had to find him. Did you ever see him again? No, we lost touch. Robert tried to find him years later, but couldn't. Helen's voice cracked. Robert died still wearing this ring. It was the only thing he asked me to keep, to never sell, because it represented something important to him. What? That kindness matters, that saving someone's life creates a bond that never breaks, even if you never see them again. Christopher stared at the ring, at the engraving, W.D. to R.M., 1989. His mind was racing, because those weren't just random initials. W.D., William Davis, his father. Christopher's hands started shaking. Ma'am, what was the man's name, the one your husband saved? Helen looked up, surprised. Why? Please, just tell me. William Davis. He told Robert his name when he gave him the ring. Christopher felt like he'd been punched. What did he look like? Helen thought back. Tall, maybe 6'2", dark hair, had a scar on his left hand, spoke with a slight accent, Southern, I think. Christopher held up his own left hand, showed her the scar, identical to the one she'd described. My father had the same scar, cut it in a car accident. Helen's eyes widened. Your father? Was William Davis. He died 3 years ago. Christopher's voice was shaking. Tell me what happened in 1989, please." Helen looked at him, really looked at him. "You're his son?" "Yes." "Then you should know. Your father was in a car accident, May 14th, 1989. His car went off a bridge into a river." Christopher's breath stopped. He knew this story. His father had told it 100 times, the accident that almost killed him, that changed his life. "My husband was driving by, saw the car go over, didn't hesitate, jumped into the water. The car was sinking. Your father was unconscious. Robert broke the window, pulled him out." Tears streamed down her face now. "The paramedics said 5 more minutes and your father would have drowned. Robert saved his life." Christopher couldn't breathe. "My father talked about that day all the time, about the man who saved him, but he never knew his name. They separated at the hospital. Dad tried to find him for years. Robert tried to find him too." Helen smiled sadly. They were both looking, and neither found each other. Christopher stared at the ring, at the engraving, his father's promise, to a man he'd never seen again. "Ma'am, your husband was Robert Morrison?" "Yes. My father talked about Robert Morrison till the day he died, calling him the man who gave him a second life, who gave him more time." Christopher's voice broke. "Time to watch me grow up, time to meet my grandchildren, time to live 30 more years." Helen was crying now. "Robert never knew. If he'd found your father, it wouldn't have mattered. My father made a promise." Christopher stood, went to his office, came back with a checkbook. "How much do you owe in property taxes?" Helen blinked. "What? How much?" $6,000. "But I can't." Christopher wrote a check for $10,000, pushed it across the counter. "This covers your taxes and gives you a cushion for next year." Helen stared at the check. "I can't accept this." "Yes, you can. But my father promised a life for a life. He owed your husband everything, and now I owe you." Christopher gestured at the ring. "Keep it. Don't ever sell it, because that ring represents a debt my family can never fully repay." Helen looked at the check, at Christopher, at the ring. "Your father really talked about Robert?" "All the time. Said the man who pulled him from that river was a hero, that he'd spend the rest of his life trying to be worthy of that second chance." Christopher smiled. "He became a teacher, spent 40 years educating kids, said he wanted to pay forward the gift he'd been given, the gift of time. Robert would have loved that. I wish they'd found each other. Maybe they did, just not the way they expected." Helen looked at him. "Maybe the promise wasn't meant to be fulfilled person to person. Maybe it was meant to be fulfilled generation to generation." Christopher nodded. "My father gave that ring to your husband as a promise, and today, 35 years later, I'm honoring it." He paused. "That's the power of a promise. It outlasts the people who make it. By the way, where are you watching this from? Drop it in the comments. I love knowing where these stories reach." Helen took the check, her hands shaking. "I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep the ring and you'll remember that your husband saved a life and that that life mattered. It did? It created me. It created my children. It created everyone my father taught, every student he inspired, every life he touched." Christopher's voice was thick with emotion. "Your husband didn't just save one man in 1989. He saved generations." Helen broke down, crying, not from sadness, but from relief, from knowing that Robert's kindness had rippled outward, had meant something. Christopher came around the counter, helped her up. "Come on, let me drive you home. Make sure that check gets deposited." "You don't have to. I want to." He locked up the shop, led her to his car. As they drove, Helen told him stories about Robert, about the man who saved her father. Christopher listened, laughing, crying, learning about the hero he'd never met. When they reached Helen's house, small but well kept, Christopher walked her to the door. "Thank you," Helen said, "for honoring your father's promise. Thank you for keeping the ring, for preserving the proof that one moment of courage can echo forever." Helen looked at the ring on her finger, where it had been for 5 years, since Robert died. "I'll never take it off." "Good." Christopher started to leave, then turned back. "Mrs. Morrison, would it be okay if I visited sometimes? I'd like to hear more stories about Robert, about the man who gave me my father." Helen smiled, genuine and warm. "I'd like that very much." And she did. Christopher visited once a week, brought his kids, his wife. They'd sit in Helen's living room drinking tea, looking at old photos of Robert, learning about the quiet hero who jumped into a river without hesitation. Christopher paid Helen's property taxes every year, refused to let her worry. It's not charity, it's honoring a debt. He also helped her in other ways, fixed things around the house, drove her to appointments, made sure she wasn't alone. "You're family now," he told her, "because your husband saved my father, which means you're the reason I exist." 3 years later, Helen was at Christopher's daughter's wedding, sitting in a place of honor, wearing Robert's ring. During his toast, Christopher told the story about the accident, about Robert Morrison, about the ring, about the promise that connected them two families. 38 years later. "My father was saved by a hero," Christopher said. "And that hero's widow is here today, because family isn't just blood. It's the people whose lives touch ours in ways we can't predict." He raised his glass. "To Robert Morrison, who dove into a river in 1989 and changed everything." The room applauded. Helen cried, happy tears, knowing Robert's courage was remembered, celebrated, honored. After the wedding, Christopher's mother approached Helen, Rebecca Davis, 72 years old, widow of William Davis. "I never got to thank your husband," Rebecca said. "William tried to find him for years, always said he owed Robert everything." Robert felt the same way, always wondered what happened to the man he saved. Rebecca took Helen's hand. "William lived 30 more years because of Robert. He met his grandchildren, saw Christopher become a man, became a teacher who changed thousands of lives." She smiled. "All because your husband didn't drive past that bridge, all because he jumped in." Robert was always like that, couldn't walk past someone who needed help. The world needs more Roberts. Helen looked at the ring, at the engraving, WD to RM, 1989. A life for a life, promise kept. He would have been so happy to know William lived well, that the rescue mattered. It mattered more than you know. What time is it where you are? Morning? Night? Let me know in the comments. 4 years after walking into that pawn shop, Helen Morrison passed away, at 78, peacefully in her sleep, in the house she'd almost lost. Christopher was devastated, but he organized the funeral, made sure it was beautiful. During the eulogy, he told the story again, about Robert, about the ring, about the promise that connected two families across decades. "Helen came into my pawn shop desperate, ready to sell the only valuable thing she had left, but she couldn't do it because the promise meant too much. And because she couldn't let go of that promise, we found each other, two families connected by one moment of courage in 1989. He held up the ring. Helen had left it to him in her will. "This ring represents everything good about humanity, sacrifice, gratitude, promises kept across generations, kindness that echoes forever." Christopher's voice broke. "Robert Morrison saved my father without asking for anything. My father promised to repay him, and 35 years later, I got to honor that promise. That's the power of doing good. It never dies. It just waits for the right moment to come back." They buried Helen next to Robert in a cemetery across town. Christopher paid for everything, made sure the headstone was beautiful. On it, he had them engrave, "Helen and Robert Morrison, heroes who saved lives and kept promises. The kindness you gave echoes forever." Below Robert's name, Christopher added the engraving from the ring, WD to RM, 1989. A life for a life, promise kept. Christopher visits the grave every month, brings flowers, tells Helen and Robert about his family, about how their courage still shapes his life, and he wears the ring now on a chain round his neck, so it's always close to his heart, a reminder
that one moment of bravery can echo across decades, that promises outlive the people who make them, that kindness creates bonds that never break. The lesson? Some things are worth more than money. A ring that represents a saved life, a promise that survives 35 years, a connection between strangers that becomes family. Helen walked into a pawn shop ready to sell the only valuable thing she had, but she couldn't do it because some promises are too important to break. And because she held on, she discovered that the promise had never been forgotten, that the man her husband saved had never stopped being grateful, that gratitude had been passed from father to son. And 35 years after Robert pulled William from a sinking car, that son honored the debt, not by taking the ring, but by giving Helen the help she needed while letting her keep the promise. That's not a transaction. That's not business. That's humanity at its best. Helen needed money, but she got something better. She got to know that Robert's courage mattered, that it had rippled outward, creating generations, changing thousands of lives, that the man he saved became a teacher who inspired students for 40 years, that those students went on to do good in the world, that the courage of one moment in 1989 echoed across decades. And when Helen died, she died knowing Robert was a hero, not forgotten, but remembered, honored, celebrated. And the ring? It's still making its way through the world, around Christopher's neck, a promise that refuses to die, a reminder that one moment of courage can change everything. If this story moved you, share it. And remember, the next time you have a chance to help someone, to jump in, to save a life, to make a promise, do it. Because you never know, that moment might echo for 35 years, might connect families, might create generations, might change everything. Robert Morrison didn't think twice in 1989. He just jumped. And because he did, a man lived. A teacher inspired thousands of students. A son honored a promise. A woman kept her home. And two families became one. All because of a ring and a promise and courage that echoed forever.